caught the ball miserably, and it dribbled only a few feet from the tee. He clenched his fist and bit his lip and glared at the embarrassed caddy, but he didn't speak. Whereupon the fellow playing with him said, "Reverend, that's the most profane silence that I have ever heard." Most avid golfers would agree, I'm sure, that the pastor had difficulty directing his anger to the right person in the right degree and at the right time for the right purpose and in the right way. In today's gospel lesson, the Apostle John tells us that just before the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and in the temple he found people selling cattle and sheep and pigeons to be used for the sacrificial offering to God. Actually, these peasants and fishermen who had come there on pilgrimage were being exploited and cheated by their religious leaders who were overcharging them for the sacrificial animals. Seeing this, Jesus made a whip of cords and waded into the situation. In the Apostle John's words, he drove all the money changers out of the temple, cattle and sheep as well. Moreover, he scattered the money changers' coins, knocked their tables over, and said to the pigeon sellers, "Take all of this out of here and stop turning my Father's house into a marketplace." Thus we see that Jesus was not above expressing the ordinary human emotion we call anger. Reading this account of an angry Jesus, we may be inclined to say at first, well, it seems to be out of character for him. We need to realize that on the contrary, he is very much in character here as the man for others. By wading into the money changers with his whip made of cords, Jesus demonstrates that there can be times when anger is a gift of God, by means of which we defend others who are being violated, exploited, or oppressed, and in many cases are unable to defend themselves. Anger can be an instrument of compassion when it is used to defend oppressed people. To know what angered Jesus on this occasion, we need to understand what was going on in Jesus' time. When people came to the temple, it was a great event. The simple peasants and fishermen and shepherds and farmers and others would save up all year in hopes of making their annual pilgrimage to the temple in Jerusalem. It was something that involved the whole family, something that was very important in their lives. And when these people got to the temple, they were exploited, ripped off by their own leaders. They were being overcharged for the animals to be used for sacrifice in the temple. And Jesus was so outraged at what was being done to these common people that out of compassion for them, he took the whip of cords and forcefully dispensed the greedy money grabbers. Responsible, controlled, finely honed anger used to defend the oppressed can be a powerful instrument of compassion. Consequently, Jesus was totally in character in this incident. The angry Jesus was feeling was the direct result of his deep sensitivity to the plight of the poor, the oppressed, and the exploited. There's an etching by the artist Rembrandt of Jesus driving the money changers out of the temple. There's no halo around Jesus' head, but there is a halo around the hand that is holding the whip of cords. Rembrandt's reason for doing this has long been debated by art critics. But there can be no debate over the meaning that picture should convey to us. Jesus' hand is a holy hand, a sacred hand, because he used it as an instrument of service for the poor people who were being exploited. The writer Ivan Torgin has described an incident in which responsible, righteous, fierce anger was demonstrated in the content of a sparrow's love and compassion for its offspring. He writes, "I was returning from walking along an avenue of a large garden, my dog running in front of me. Suddenly, he took shorter steps and began slithering along as though tracking game. I looked further along and saw a wounded young sparrow on the ground, weakly and painfully bobbing its half-grown wings. It had fallen out of the nest and was unable to move out of harm's way. My dog was slowly approaching it when suddenly, darting down from a tree close by, an old, dark-throated sparrow came winging in like a shot. Furiously bobbing its wings, it stopped right in front of the dog's nose. Ferociously and angrily, it then flung itself twice against the open jaws of shiny teeth. The bird's note was harsh. Its little body was shaking with anger. And then, swooning with fear, it offered itself up for its helpless offspring. The dog flinched and backed off and ran down the avenue, obviously filled with a doggy kind of reverence. Moreover, I too had a feeling of reverence toward that heroic bird for its impulse of love and compassion. When we use fierce indignation for the way of standing up for the oppressed and the powerless, we are following